Carl and Brendan here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And as you can tell, at least on one half of the screen, it is Christmas time. It is December 1st as the time of recording, and we're knocking out our first Christmas track by track. A brand new album as well. It was literally, as of the time of recording, only released like a week ago on November 24th. It is Black Nativity by the band A Hill to Die Upon, and that's an American black and death metal band from Illinois, formed all the way back in 2004 by the brothers Adam and Michael Cook. Interestingly, the brothers are Christian, and their lyrical themes actually draw from a lot of things related to the Bible, mythology, war, philosophy, and literary works around the Bible stuff as well. And the Black Nativity, it was their first album since their 2017 release, Via Artius Via Mortis, and was released, as I said, on November 24th via Rottweiler Records. This one came to us in the promo part of obviously the site, and I picked it up as I do. And I saw and did not know this was anything to do with Christmas in any way, shape, or form. I saw Black Nativity, saw the front cover, and thought, oh, okay, that was it. It was only when I looked at the track listing, noticed a few, and then obviously when you hear it, and even though you may not know what certain songs are because of the translation, you'll quickly pick up that this is predominantly covers with some original stuff thrown in. Yeah, so obviously I was familiar with this. I wrote a review for the site, so I was already quite familiar with it. But this was, I presume, your first go on this album?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I don't even know if I would have even accidentally come across it, to be honest with you. I know who A Hill to Die Upon, but like I don't know them well, so I wouldn't necessarily have been following them. And you kind of get sometimes it feels a bit 50-50 with what some of the streaming music platforms put out as in this is what's been released this week.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think I would have come across it necessarily. So yeah.
Yeah, we're a little bit, at least as the time of recording, it seems we're a little bit dry on big, like full Christmas album releases. There's plenty of singles dotted around and here and there, but like full sort of festive toned ones, we're a little bit struggling this year. So I'm glad we do have this at least, even as well, it's not a long album either.
No.
Okay, let's dive a little bit into this then as we begin with Hymn to Marduk, which features Carl Sanders of Nile. I saw that, right? I don't know if you were the same thing, but when I saw it, I saw Hymn to Marduk, I saw it's featuring Carl Sanders, and I was like, well, I know what I'm getting in for here, right? This is going to be 2-3 minutes of just pure chaos. So imagine my surprise when it turns out to be a folk-orientated piece that is weird and progressive. The initial disjointed melody is actually quite off-putting, but when the vocals arrive, there's a real sense of gloom to this Christmas record. The expectation, though, was still there for me for it to heavy up. It's going to heavy up any moment now. It's going to happen. And it just simply never does. Instead, it just kind of gets more atmospheric, a little bit colder as it goes on. And I like it, but it's a question. Is this a waste of Carl Sanders? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I suppose even more so from the band and the name, the Black Nativity, and the style of music that they play. I was just expecting it to be, quite a heavy kind of piss take, I suppose, really, of a lot of the Christmas stuff. And it's certainly not that. Like, actually, it looks like quite a lot of fucking effort went into the album.
Yeah.
It's a strange opener. It is strange because I think, but mostly because I think you're kind of thrown off by it. I think, like, in a weird way, because of the way that the opener is, it sort of instantly means that for the next, like, my kind of my made up, like, this is what the album's going to be, was gone constantly. Like it was like, oh, okay, now I don't know what's going to be. So that was kind of nice, actually, that they sort of set the tone quite early on and said, like, all right, we know what you might be thinking, but it's not that, It is a weird song. It's quirky. Does become quite nice and easy to listen to. Actually, I like the vocals. I like the sort of slow, melancholic music. I found it, I don't know if it's the right word for it now, but I found it weirdly sweet to listen to. Like the vocals, like the backing and all that. The only thing I didn't get at any point while listening to that song was anything Christmas. that was the thing. I didn't really feel like any point I was listening to anything on a Christmas album there. I felt like I was listening to a quirky kind of folk song.
I get that. Because again, like I said, when going back to my first review, when I started to listen and put this was the first track that came on, I was kind of like, oh, maybe this isn't what I think it is at all. It's quite upending. I like the way you put that. The fact that you sort of said it's exciting. Suddenly we don't know what to expect because it could have just been 10 tracks of his black metal, his Christmas but black metal. And let's be honest, we've all heard that shit. Okay, then we got Vieni Emmanuel, which basically, and it's all one word in caps, which makes it hard to read, but it is O come, Emmanuel. It is that piece of music. And I like the riffiness of this, even though the problem for me is that the original, like the O come, Emmanuel, is one of my least sort of festive hymns. But I think the Hill to Die Upon give it a more devilish and blacker feel. This is one of the more better versions I've heard of this track, so I was cool with it.
Yeah, you did really well there. I wrote the first line of this. I wrote, looking forward to Carl trying to say the name of this one.
On my notes, I broke it into 3 separate words so I wouldn't screw it up.
I mean, the things I like about it, right? I quite like the fact that it's got a very different vibe to the opener, but also it's still not the vibe I thought I would get from A Hill to Die Upon. I actually found that the music, it's got dark and it's got black and kind of vocals in it, but musically it's kind of a bit more up tempo and it's almost got like a hard rock kind of vibe to it, almost like a 90s sort of thing going on. Didn't really at any point, like unless because I don't know if you did the same, but I was like, what the fuck does this mean? So I Googled it and I was like, oh, it's that. If I hadn't have Googled it, there's no way in the world I would have connected this to O Come Emmanuel, because I didn't get that song in this at pretty much any point. There's a few moments where I'm like, oh, is that from it? But
it's the melody, just little moments where I pick it up.
But like I did say the same as you, really. It's not really a bad thing massively because that hymn sucks. I like the energy of it. If I was judging it, again, this whole thing I'm going to do a lot on this album, if I was judging this on how Christmassy this song feels, I wouldn't score it massively highly, but I like it as a song. So, yeah.
Cool. I was at this point where I was like, God, I hope there is something on this record that blows me away, that I think is going to be up there. Because I like to always, I think most of the time, barring maybe Majestica, who did an entire album of just brilliant stuff, majority of Christmas albums tends to have at least one where it's like, that is a playlist song now, be it Halford winter songs, or have like one song I take. And I was hoping I was going to get one from this. And I did, because it's next. It's We Three Kings. This is such a gloomy version, and I am all in it. The doomier tone fits this song perfectly, and it gets really black in certain places. It is a long one, nearly 6 minutes, but amazingly, I don't think it gets boring, as there are some really garish twists to the formula, and then this descent into chaos at the end that is unexpected and very cool. I love this. This is one of my favorite versions of We Three Kings.
I liked it too. It's a Christmas hymn that gets covered a lot, but like also gets covered quite well a lot. It seems to work.
It does.
But this is a really dark and broody version. It's got some really neat riffing and drum beats, and the extra sort of deep vocals are cool too. Vocally, probably a bit more what I was thinking from the band, but it almost sounds like even different now because it's nothing like the first 2 songs. Little melodic change ups for the chorus is cool, and then because it's also recognizable to the original hymn or any of the covers that we've ever heard of it, you never have that worry about, oh, there's no Christmas to this. It's fucking clear as day. Like, it's about as Christmas as you can get. I did also comment that it does go on like quite long, but also that the different change ups in the music make that bearable. So I wasn't too worried about that. So yeah, I also thought this was a really, really good cover.
But you did say at the start as well, we've heard some damn good versions of this. So yeah, you kind of have to. Okay, what child is this? And this features Ole Borad of X-Toll. Um, a band I'm not that familiar with, if I'm honest. Are you?
No.
Okay, so the tone of this record is bleak and dark. That much has been clear up to this point. And this is another example of a song being twisted by this formula. Thing is, I don't like the original. I find the original a very irritating piece of music. So I actually struggle to get past this one, even if there is a strong black and vibe running through it.
Yeah, I'm also not a fan of the original one, but I do like this. I think this is
Okay.
pretty cool. I think it's sort of extra deep and dark vocals again, very, very chunky bass, like really, really sort of heavy thumps. Slight variations in the vocal style for the choruses are good. It's got a cool guitar solo, and it goes from that guitar solo into this kind of extension of the solo, but where it now plays the original melody from the actual carol or hymn, which I think is cool as well. Clean vocals then, yeah, because this has got quite a lot going on actually, and then after that it goes into clean vocals out of nowhere. Before we get that nice kind of harmonizing with the heavy vocals in the background and the clean vocals sitting on top. So I'm not a massive fan of the original Carol, but I felt this one was like it was a cover of it, like clearly a cover of it. I think I could have listened to this and I might not remember the name of the original one, but I would have been like, oh, that's that Christmas Carol song,
Yeah.
whatever that
Yeah,
song's called.
I always get well confused between that and Green Sleeves, is it? I always think they're
All
the same
right,
bloody song.
but yeah, so yeah, for me this is great. It's a really really good one.
Right, interesting. Okay, then we switch up to Left-Handed Wizard. In brackets, my eyes look west. It's dramatic as hell. And it's back to the cleaner style here with deep melodies and a strong sense of wandering. I found this initially jarring, but then ended up thinking it was quite memorable.
Yeah, I mean, I firstly I didn't know if this was like a cover or anything like that because I don't
I
know
don't
it
think so. I
and
don't
I
think
couldn't
so.
pick anything out from it, and also it's got such a strange name. I was like, is there a cover called Left-Handed Wizard, or maybe there's like a right-handed mage or something? I don't know what that they've covered, but I couldn't. Yeah, but also I guess like that's only important really because like I didn't really get anything at all from this song in terms of Christmas aside from a couple of lyrics here and there. But other than that, I like the vocals though. I do like the very chilled vibe to it. It's that whole thing. Like as a song, I like it quite a lot. I think it's really like good to listen to. But if I'm judging it as a Christmas song and a Christmas album, it
Hmm.
has not. There's nothing on this. So yeah, for me, just a nice song, but just lacking any of that kind of Christmas spirit and energy.
I agree with you in that. In fact, actually, it's easily the one I looked at the most and went, this seems well out of place, even if it is really nice.
Mm.
But what does belong on a Christmas album is Still Not, which of course is Silent Night. And I got to say, as soon as I saw this, I thought, oh no, because I am bored of this piece being covered in heavier and darker styles. You've heard so many versions of this. Saying that, it is a wicked sounding version, very devilish, very evil. Certainly frightened grandma if you would have put it on at Christmas.
Yeah, I think it's cool as well. I think it's a cool
Mm.
song. Um, what I really liked about it, right, is that even that it's not Silent Night as in the name, and you're like, okay, so it's still knocked. You know what it is because
Mm.
recognizable. That then the verses are so unrecognizable to the hymn. It's fucking unreal. I was like, I couldn't get any. I was like, this isn't it. Well, this has got to be something different. And then all of a sudden, it just like it completely like it shifts the tempo, the timing, everything, and suddenly it's in the carol for a bit. Like what the fuck? Where'd that come from? And it's like, but it's such a mad shift that like it just shouldn't work. It should be like, well, hang on, that's just two bits of two different songs like stuck together. But actually, weirdly, it does. It just I don't even know how it works because you're like, I mean, everything's going quite fast and like upbeat and everything like that. Like it's got a big sort of thump to it, and then all of a sudden it's into this like drawn out stuff, like just like on the within a millisecond, and it should sound shit, you know.
Mm.
But like I think it works really really well, and I found that really interesting and really cool. Um, yeah, I thought you had some good drums, some good music, and all that sort of stuff in it. So I think it's a good cover, and I like the fact that they did things a little bit different to this one, because it is extremely familiar. Like if you were to just do the song, weirdly it was the fact that I couldn't recognize the song that made me like this song. And it was like that little switch up every now and then was just their way of going, "I'll just remind you what we're doing." And then they go back to doing something that sounds nothing fucking like that again. And they go, oh, in case they've forgotten what song this is, we'll just do another little bit of it, you know.
This has got to be what, our fourth or fifth year doing Christmas track by tracks. We've heard plenty of versions of Silent Night. So
Oh
if
god, yeah,
anyone does anything that grabs you, well done them.
yeah.
Entree Le Boeuf. I did some research on all the tracks in this, and in this one, I discovered that this is a French Christmas carol because I could not work out for the life of me what this was supposed to be. But apparently, it's a French Christmas carol, and it's more traditional with black metal fury, really, very unrefined and raw. And that was a bit of a problem for me. This is so unrefined, so rough sounding that I was like, it didn't fit with anything else on the album. Just because it was black metal didn't feel like it mattered. It's a way meaner, rawer sound than any other black metal on it. So probably the worst track for me on this album.
Yeah, I also did my research, so I also found out it was a French Christmas carol. But I mean, I'm sure you did too. But apparently, essentially translates, or the Christmas carol itself translates to the sleep of baby Jesus. Which and I never heard that French carol before. Of course, I'm sure you haven't either.
Nope.
But I found it quite funny that a song called "The Sleep of Baby Jesus" was the one that they've gone, oh, let's go like for the fastest and most fucking in your face. One that we do on pretty much on the album, actually, to be fair. I like it again, song wise, right? Pretty cool, good energy, nice and fast, nice and heavy, quite aggressive. And it was also quite nice to hear, I guess, something like a carol that I've never heard before, even though I know that I'm assuming the French version, the original, is not like this. I'm guessing.
Presumably, yeah.
Maybe it's a like for like cover, you know. So there were things about that I quite liked. I guess I liked the idea that this kind of American band, who have obviously a very similar culture to what we have in the UK, so we'll have also all heard a lot of the same kind of carols. But they've obviously done a lot of research and effort into, doing something a bit different. So there's a lot of cool things like that I like about this song and this album. But again, like a few of the songs I said on this, if you play me that song and ask me to guess like what season or whatever, like, what's it from, I would never go Christmas at all. So
yeah, that's it. Maybe if you're more familiar with it, you might be able to pull something from it, but it's nothing there for me. But obviously, immediately then seeing How Long's On, immediately go, well, okay, what version are they going to give us with this? Again, when we hear covered in pretty much every Christmas album, and normally the very last track of a Christmas album. Heard some good versions, heard some terrible versions. To be honest, I'm sick of it. This might be my favorite version of this I've ever heard. It is that strong for me. It's all instrumental. The melody is beautiful. And I love how it keeps things super subtle while oozing massive amounts of atmosphere. It might even bring a tear to the eye. And I think, unlike a lot of versions of this, it nails the different side of this piece of music, which is the reflection, the looking back and shedding a tear and a wry smile for those that you maybe have lost over the years or things that have passed you by. And like that side of things, I think it nails it. And it's like 2 minutes long.
Yeah, it's short. I think he only hits the fucking guitar strings 4 times in that 2 minutes. I'm not, the one that gets played at New Year's Eve parties and all that sort of stuff, the different version of this song make me dislike this song. I again agree with you 100%. We're very, very similar on a lot of this stuff. Like, I really like what they've done with it. There's the most patient of guitar melodies, like so fucking slow. Like, at some points I'm like, hit the fucking string, dude. What the hell? Just hit the string. But big echo, the notes all ringing out. It's very atmospheric, so I think it's really, really cool. I did write in brackets just being a dick, though. It's a New Year's song, like technically not Christmas,
yeah,
but it's fine.
It's always there. Then we get Sacred Harp, and I thought this was a brave choice to have this one next. Another beautifully constructed offering after that was a choice, and the variety is more than welcome because there's just, like, we've heard so many black metal covers. We've said this several times throughout almost, but not having just, here's fucking another one that's been done to death before. Santa Claus is coming to town and nonsense like that. In fact, actually saying that there's no actually hits like this. This is all hymn based, so that's really cool. But I love this one. I think it's really pretty.
Yeah, I mean, like you said at the beginning, you know, introducing the band as, I don't think they're necessarily a Christian metal band, but there are Christians in a metal band.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe that's where the kind of hymn side comes from, perhaps. But the same for me. Never heard this before. You know, so it's another new one. Just stylistically different again, you know, which is cool. I mean, across a reasonably short album, still a decent amount of tracks on it, but reasonably short in terms of time. It's quite a significant amount of creativity and variety, and you know, different styles in play, which is cool. I like the melody, the singing, the harmonized backing. You know, so all of that stuff's really, really good. Really cool guitars in the outro as well. But the only thing for me is it is so hymn-like. That it's just my personal taste. You know, for me, lyrical content, the melody of the song, all that sort of stuff. It's so much like an actual hymn that it's almost like it brings me a little bit too close to church for my liking. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really, really cool, and I like what they're doing with it. But you know, it's almost like it feels almost like what the hymn would be.
Brendan's starting to sweat listening to the song.
I was like, shit, I'm being converted, bro. I've got to run.
It's all right. They have something to change everything up now because it's Hymn to Marduk 2, the penultimate track. This one features two guests, Sakis Tullis of Rotting Christ and Bruce Fitzhugh of Living Sacrifice. The former, obviously, know quite well. The latter, not so much. And this is basically a retread of the opener, but with actual aggression in the vocals and a heavier instrumental section. I like it fine, though, and I do wonder if when they first kind of played around with this album and they were like, okay, how do you want to open it? And they were like, okay, we've got these two versions. Let's obviously open with the heavy black metal one because that's what people expect. And then they went, no. Let's upend it and swap them over. And we'll have that one at the end and that one at the beginning and so on. It's cool.
I was like, they're sitting down trying to work out what to put on this album, and they're like, because they're Christians, they're like, well, we've got to have hymns, we've got to have something about Christ. And they're like, oh, rotting Christ, we can have rotting Christ. But I'm not massively familiar with the other band, Living Sacrifice. I don't think but by not massively, I mean I don't think I'm familiar at all with them, to be honest. Even if they hadn't said Sakis was on this, the second he sings, that dude's voice is so recognizable, man, and almost comfortingly so. You know, it's like a big hug. Like, oh, he's here. He appears in so many things, and here he is again. And I love his voice, so that's great for me as well. I really, really love this song. I thought this is phenomenal, man. I loved it first, the part one, the intro track to it as well. I thought that was really cool. But this for me is like fucking banging. There is obviously, in the same way as the first one, not really an awful lot of Christmas, you know, but I don't really care because, you know, his voice is brilliant. I love the sort of slow, brooding, impactful. The riffs are really, really cool with his voice. It's got a strong solo. So for me, like, this is one of the best on the album.
Ooh, there it is. Okay. And then we end with Minu Sheratian, which is Oh Holy Night. And I got so excited when I Googled what the title was and then saw the translation. And I was like, oh my God, what a hill to die upon, going to do with arguably one of the best hymns out there, but also one of the most strongly covered that I've heard from many, many different bands. Even when it's sampled, only part of it's used in a Majestica record. It fucking slays. So I was super stoked for what they'd do. So I was very disappointed with what we get here. Even though it is unique and a sweet way to end a record, it's basically a woman singing, but done in a radio broadcast way, as though you're listening to it on like an old-timey radio. And I did admittedly get caught up in that atmosphere. I could kind of picture perhaps like it playing in like French underground, like resistance in the underground during World War II and elements like that. And I thought that was really fucking cool. So by the end of it, I kind of changed my mind completely and was like, you know what? I've not heard it's done this way. And in this short amount of time, they have created an image for me. This is brilliant.
I was like, I didn't know where you were going then, because the first 2-3 lines were like, this sucks, and then by the end of it, it was brilliant. So they did the same thing, like even there in your talking. Yeah, I didn't actually. When I first started listening to this album, I didn't mean to, but I had it on shuffle, and this was the first thing that played. So I didn't look this up before I'd listened to it, but obviously it's so instantly recognizable. So, I didn't have to do any sort of research on this. Same with you again on all pretty much across the board, and actually we've used almost very, very similar wording for a lot of it. At first I was a bit like, what is this? Realize it's more like an outro to the album, more so than obviously anything that by the band themselves, probably something that they like and they just wanted to include maybe. I also referenced it as almost wartime sounding, very, very authentic and traditional sounding. I really, really like it. I think it's really, really cool, really atmospheric. It's very nice. Also wrote down that I've never heard it done this way before, so that's kind of cool. With the only downside for them being is that there's never going to be a point, I don't think, in the rest of my life where if anyone plays anything from Oh Holy Night, I don't just instantly hear Halford singing it and go, I'm going to listen to that now. So like that's not their fault. That's Halford's fault.
He broke us. He broke this song.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? So you're gonna have favorites in it, and like, his version of Oh Holy Night is still the best version of I've ever heard, even though there are other very good versions. This is up there as another very good take on it. It's weird to say that because I almost feel like this is probably how it's meant to be. Like a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, and it's almost like this is what other people are covering. It's kind of how it feels, but I don't know if that's just because it's making me feel like this is from so long ago. For all I know, this could have been recorded like just using like effects and samples in their studio a few weeks back, but it feels like it's from 100 years ago, which is cool.
How incredible is that?
Yeah.
I think we both took away a fair bit from this album, maybe more than we expected. And I think it's fair to say that, like, I think it's a good album, a unique festive album.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's really, really good. I think it's really, really cool as well that a band have released a Christmas album that's actually, not that I didn't have it like respect them beforehand, but I'm not that big a fan of them. But for me to come out of this and almost I haven't lost any respect for them. If anything, I've gained a shit ton more, because I think like what they've done here is really, really clever. It's not just slapping out 5 of the ones that everyone does and we'll just quickly bash them together in a studio, growl over them and push that out and see if we can make a few bucks over Christmas. It seems like a shit ton of fucking work and effort has gone in here to get the right songs and do the right things and get guests together and all that sort of stuff. So I think if you're going to throw that much effort into something, you're going to end up with a good result, and that's what they've done. So go them.
Yeah, I just want to throw out an ad as well. This wasn't promoted as a Christmas record, like it wasn't sent like, oh, here's this year's Christmas record. You start reading the detail and you get a little more detail on it and stuff like that. But this is an album. Like, this is their new album. Like, that's how it is. It's not like we're just doing this for fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, of course, top 3 tracks. I'll go first. Okay, I've got We Three Kings, Auld Lang Syne, and Sacred Harp. They're the 3 that I think were the best.
We match up on one of the 3. So for me, We Three Kings as well. But I also really liked What Child Is This? And loved Hymn to Marduk too.
Yeah, I figured you're going to pull that one out. There it is. Great selection. Nice, easy album to listen to, and certainly something different to enjoy this Christmas. But you got any thoughts that you know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.